interesting. For me, it's my life right now. It's, it's the idea that God created something so wonderful, and so beautiful and so transformative that we are called to be part of caring for it, not as an obligation, but out of love and care for God, love for God who loves us so deeply, love for all that God's created, and love for future generations. And so this idea of eco ministry is all centered at care. Um, and and so it so seems so important to just share that. It's a simple thought. When people sit back, I think in a way and say, "Oh, eco ministry, it's loving all that's in this earth and all that's been created and taking care of it, just for the sake of love, not because of sin or guilt or anything else." All those theological points are important, but actually the idea that transformative love can transform the world because God has transformed the world for us and for God's self.
Wow. It's really powerful to hear you. Yeah, just you're right. It's so simple in a certain way and so profound. That 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 kind of love. I'm curious, as someone who has worked in environmental work in the secular world and in eco ministry, um, now sort of how would you kind of compare the sort of the underpinnings or the motivation, so to speak. I'm not sure exactly what the right word is of the kind of um, the movements to get people to feel that love and enact care through that love in kind of the secular work that you did as opposed to the ecological ministry. I'm curious just to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fascinating question. I mean, part of it is I loved what I did in the water supply work. I love what I did with recycling work with the non-for-profit that I worked for. Um, and people had this sense of passion and commitment, and it was doing the right thing. And doing the right thing is really important. And it can change things. And there's so many stories that obviously legislative laws and initiatives and policies and all sorts of things that can change the environment and take care of the earth. Um, and that's inspiring and hopeful. But I also think that sometimes it's goal driven and it's oriented towards a way of being and responsibility that can be overwhelming and exhausting. And at some point, um, it can just be, for me, think it didn't feel complete. And so when I worked in the secular world, as much as I loved the work, it didn't feel like it was, how do I describe it? It didn't feel as if it would ever get done. And I always had a goal that I would never meet. And I could never myself or with my organizations or the people I worked with solve the big problems, which is a lot of responsibility to wake up to every morning, right? And it's a little scary. And yet, when I do it because I love God and God loves me, God's plan is never complete in my time or in your time or the people who come after us or the people who come before us. And so it's freeing in a way to do it singularly for transformative love and not feel that level of responsibility and angst and overwhelming um, fear in a way. Um, and that doesn't mean that I'm not afraid of climate change. That doesn't mean I'm not afraid of the injustices or angry at the injustices that happen over the environment. But there's something that gives me energy and inspiration as an eco minister, to go forward, knowing that this is basically an act of gratitude, and not an act of responsibility, or the burden is not mine because God has already saved so many things in so many ways. Um, and that gives me hope. Whereas I didn't always feel that sense of hope when I worked in the secular world. Like I said, I love what I did, but I didn't feel that sense of hope.